Hello there, welcome to another edition of the Holiday and Cruise Clinic, the only programme on television that's purely dedicated to answering your holiday, cruise and travel related questions. If you have a question, query or a dilemma, here's how to get in touch. Our website is www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Just click on programmes, select the clinic page and submit your questions to us online through the website. You can also email us directly at clinic@holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk, or you can write to us by post as well to the Holiday and Cruise Channel, Cavendish House, Brighton Road, Liverpool, L22 5NG. Now, when it comes to booking your next holiday, have you thought about the extra options that are available to us all? How about a stay at the airport hotel the night before, perhaps? How about parking at the airport? Would you like to enjoy the hospitality available in one of the airport lounges, for example? And of course, you mustn't forget your travel insurance. Well, here to tell us more about these and a whole lot more is Lindsay Garvey-Jones from Holiday Extras. Lindsay, welcome to the programme.
Thank you for
coming. And looking so fantastic with your gold award Olympic medal. What have you won?
I started the Olympics already.
Tell us about what's Grand Slam. You need to justify this before we go on any further.
Well, the Grand Slam, we are very proud to support the travel trade and the travel industry, and part of motivating them to increase sales and to look at growth opportunities is to give them prizes. So the Grand Slam is an opportunity for agents to win some really good prizes, such as we've got a table at the Brits. Next year we've got Formula One hospitality for the F1 at Silverstone, and we've got Michael Jackson Immortal Tour. So there's lots of nice groovy prizes going on. They're very lucky to get them.
Aren't they just? and as sales supremo, you get to go along to all these just to make sure everybody's looked after.
I would like to think so. If my boss is watching, then yes, please.
All right, well, we've got a sticky subject to talk about, but let's make it as entertaining as possible. And obviously I want to know a little bit about you and your background in the travel industry as well. Travel insurance, it's one of these things, isn't it, that we have to have, but we may not think about it until the last minute, and then perhaps we go online and shop around. What's the best way to go about getting it?
I think the best way to get insurance is to purchase it at the time of travel. If you leave it too late, sometimes you'll forget. It's one of those things that you have to have. It's a bit like insuring your car. You don't know what's going to happen before you go or even when you're there. So travel insurance will protect you against any losses incurred and costs involved before and after travel, because there's medical to think about, there's luggage delays, there's a whole host of things that needs to be covered for before and after you travel. So.
Now, I'm sure some people watching this will be thinking, and I do think this way myself sometimes, I'm not ill that often, I'm relatively fit, you know, do I really need it? Save a bit of money.
If you're relatively fit, everybody needs travel insurance. I know that I've been away in the past and I've suffered from, you know, what they call Montezuma's revenge, an upset tummy, or an ear infection. I think it's better, in my own opinion, to be protected rather than to pay out for a doctor and some medication that you might need. So even though you're fit and healthy, you don't know, unfortunately, what's going to happen to you when you're away. Hopefully,
oh yes, yeah,
you'll be okay.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But just in case, because it is these things, it's not like, you know, hopefully you won't break your leg or do something horrible to yourself, but it's just the little things quite often that are important.
It is the little things that are important, particularly if you're travelling with children. You know, they have a couple of days in the pool, they might get ear infections, things like that. So it's always better to be protected against the call out of a doctor or for some medication for something quite simple, which you can always claim back on your insurance. Yeah.
Now, not everybody is as young and as fit as you are. What about if you have an existing medical condition and you think you still will need insurance, obviously?
Yeah.
Will it prevent you from going on holiday, do you
No,
think?
it should never prevent you from going on holiday. Just because you have a medical condition does not mean that you have to stay at home. You have to think about where you're travelling to and the costs involved if anything does happen. Now, most insurances will exclude some medical conditions. However, it can always be overcome by going through a medical screening where you are asked certain questions about your condition, about any medications that you're taking, so you can pay a premium and still travel.
Are all companies the same then? Obviously Holiday Extras is one of many available in the high street for getting your insurance. Are they basically the same?
No. No, you need to make sure that the cover that you're getting is the right cover for you. Obviously, my company has the screening available in-house, as do many others, but do always check before you buy insurance that you are covered for your medical condition, because if you're ill as a result of that condition when you're away and you haven't mentioned it and you've not declared it, you might end up paying quite a lot of money for that condition to be covered.
Yeah, what are the stories you've heard about people who perhaps gone away on holiday without any insurance that you can tell us about, and they've had to pay huge amounts of money or
Oh gosh, I mean, the most expensive ones, of course, are over to the States or over to Australia, where people have had heart conditions or things like that that they've not told us about. And that means being flown home to, you know, people are raising money this side to try and get them home. Don't leave it to chance, just make sure that you're covered.
Because it is quite expensive to get home, isn't it? If you are ill and you have a medical condition and you're stuck.
Thousands. It can run into thousands. You need to just make sure that that's covered, and it will be if you get screened.
Well, we've decided we're going on holiday then. We've got enough money, we've scrimped and saved, and it then dictates the type of holiday, doesn't it, that you're going to take as to what kind of insurance. If you go to a poolside holiday, a beach holiday, is that cheaper than, for example, if you're going skiing?
Inevitably, yes, because there's a different risk involved with skiing, obviously. There's certain types of equipment that you'll use when you go skiing that you won't use when you're by the pool having a nice cocktail. So do bear in mind that there will be a little bit extra to pay if you are covering winter sports, things like that, definitely.
What you like on skis?
I'm great on skis.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I love skiing. I absolutely love skiing. It's brilliant. I'm not an expert by all means. I'm really good at falling over.
I think you've got to be a bit like that, haven't you? Just take it in your stride.
Yeah, I mean, the small kids, when you're away skiing, they're whiz by. They've got no fear.
They have no fear. That's so annoying, isn't it? Because they're all there and they're pushing in front of you in the lift, trying to get on the ski lift before you do.
Yeah.
I found skiing the closest thing to motorcycling, actually, because you're flying down fast as you like with nothing much around you, thinking, this is great. You know, and then you think, oh, I've got to stop at the bottom there.
It is quite thrilling, I love it.
If I go on holiday more than once a year, we often hear a lot about buy a policy for the whole year and go on holiday as many times as you want. Is that better, or is it better to buy your policy individually?
If you're planning to take more than one trip a year, it's a great idea to get annual travel cover. It will cover you obviously for the whole year, and it'll take into consideration a multi-trip. But if you can't plan, like me, I end up having to buy single policies because I don't know when I'm going and how long for sometimes. So I just have to make sure that I get what I need. So I think it depends on you as a person, but definitely if you're planning more than one trip, get an annual policy, it works out better.
Okay. Is that can't plan, won't plan, or can't plan because...
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I've always been like that. I've always been a kind of last minute girl, and it's like, oh, you know what, where can we go next week? What can we do?
That's good. That's good. And with a lot of experience that you've had in the travel industry,
I know.
You know, you can use that experience to decide where you want to go, I guess.
Oh, I've got lots of friends as well who've been to different places that I've not been to. You know, the social media sites are great for sharing all that kind of knowledge. But there's a few stones left unturned. There's a few corners I've not been to just yet that I wouldn't mind going to. So,
okay, we'll talk about that more in a few moments. But the policy for a year, presumably if you buy a yearly policy, you have to go on that certain type of holiday each time though, don't you? No,
not at all. You can go on different types of holidays. It will include a winter sports cover up to a certain amount of days as well, so don't worry about that. It's all on your policy wording and it's fully explained to you at the time of purchases.
And obviously a lot of people now have chosen to go on a cruise holiday instead of going on a holiday by the pool, for example. So how does the insurance differ for that cruise?
There are a lot of insurance policies out there, but there are some specific to cruise. Now, cruise holidays are very different from your normal beach holidays because there's a lot more to think about. it's horrible to talk about things. If you're ill and you're confined to your cabin, or if you're injured and confined to your cabin, there's compensation payouts for that. If you've missed some ports of call, or you've missed your departure port, or any excursions that you've paid for that you can't participate in, there's compensation for that as well, and any delayed baggage. So it's worth bearing in mind to ask for a specific cruise policy if there's one available to you.
Sure, I mean that's a good point actually, because it's not just about looking after you, but if you've no clothes to wear for the holiday, then you really need to go out and buy some, don't you?
And you can't just go to a town centre and, you know, purchase some odd bits and bobs either. You know, you're on a cruise ship, so you really do need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got some good examples of insurance related questions in our first time guide to cruising, which I'll give you some more details about that in a few moments time. There's two great ones to look out for. They're both free guides, and you can get a copy by calling us on 0871 423 4444. There's the guide to family cruising and the guide to first time cruise holidays as well, which will help you out if you've never been. You have been on a cruise, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah? Enjoy it?
Oh, it was the most amazing experience. I went on the Century Celebrity about 10 years ago now. I know she's been refurbished since then, but what an amazing experience that was. I did a 2-week back-to-back Caribbean cruise, so Eastern and Western together. Such good value for money. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's I saw so many places, and best bit was I didn't have to pack and unpack, which was great for me because it's shoes, dresses, makeup.
Okay, all right. You don't travel light then?
No.
Okay, good, good. That comes with experience too. Well, Lindsay, just hang fire there for a moment because we'll take a quick break, and there's stacks of questions I want to ask you about what insurance we need to go and how long we need to book it in advance before we go. And let's get the nitty-gritty out of the way, and then we can talk about the glamour of taking a holiday. All right, okay, stay there. And well, whilst you're getting in touch with us with your questions, don't forget and dialing us up or emailing us for our guides. Then we'll take a quick break, and we'll see you back here with Lindsay and myself in a few minutes. Hello there, welcome back to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. Today we're talking about the extra options that are available when booking your holiday. I'm joined here in the studio by Lindsay Garvey-Jones from Holiday Extras. Great to have you with us, Lindsay, today.
Thank you.
I mean, when we say extras, they're really part of the holiday, aren't they? They're not too much of an extra because you do really need insurance, don't you, when you go?
Yeah, they should be holiday essentials. Yeah, that's what they should be.
Now, the NHS does give you a certain amount of support when you're away, doesn't it? It has agreements and things, but that only goes so far, doesn't it? What will it give you?
Yes, it gives you the NHS equivalent of their own state. So even though you've got your travel insurance, the old E111 will still give you a certain level of cover if you end up being treated by a hospital that has that agreement with the UK. So it's worthwhile taking the travel insurance as well, because you just don't know where and when you're going to be ill or you're going to have medical treatments. So.
And is that mostly in Europe? Or?
It is mainly in Europe, yes. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that's something you can get from your post office, isn't it, or
and
online?
It's completely free, I think, at the moment. Do check, but I think think it's still completely free. But the post office does it online.
Definitely, anything free, I'm interested in if it helps you out. What about the package holiday things? And occasionally we do hear about it in the travel industry to do with insolvency. And if the agency is ABTA-bonded, obviously there's not a problem. But how does this leave insurance?
There's a lot of people doing what's called dynamic packaging. So they might be buying their own flight and a separate cruise, for instance. But the travel insurance that you purchase has to have what's called an end supplier failure section, and it's only a small part of the insurance, and make sure that you have it, because in the event that one of the components of that holiday goes into insolvency, it means that you will be compensated for. So always make sure that your insurance is covered. Right,
okay, and you'll explain that to people when they speak to you on the phone?
Absolutely, of course, yeah. I mean, most people do include that now, but we always point that out at time purchase, definitely.
Because I don't know about you, I mean, you may be better on fine print than I am, because you get your policy, you think, oh, bought my policy, don't have to worry about it anymore. Very rarely read what it covers, apart from what you're told over the phone.
Yeah, bit of bedtime reading, I think. I think it's always worthwhile when you go through your travel documentation is to go through your policy and have a look at it and actually make sure that you know what you're covered for, because if it turns out that you're taking your iPad away on holiday or an iPhone, your value limit on your personal values might have to be extended, or you might need to look at a better cover.
Yes, because I was thinking about jewellery and things like that, really, because you know you want to wear your finest, don't you, when you're on holiday?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're going on a cruise, you know, you want to take, you know, some of your jewels with you, but you know, I always say if you don't want to make a claim for it, don't take it. Basically, if it's that valuable to you both, you know, as a keepsake, don't take it. But yes.
What's the most unusual holiday somebody's asked you for insurance on? Do you know?
Oh, no, I don't. Do you know what? It'd be worthwhile asking about down at head office just to see. I bet they've got an absolute plethora of stories you can choose from about different holidays. Yeah. But I think the weird and wonderful is when you're going around the world and you need to be insured for different types of activities, which are all listed in the policy wording along with skiing and stuff.
So really, it's like a lot of other things that we talk about on this programme. Be prepared and go through it, and think if you are going to go swimming with crocodiles on your holiday, make sure you're insured for it.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of risk in that, I would imagine.
I would have said so. Yeah. Don't know, it depends how you want to... Skiing is probably just as dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But you could stay at home and just be miserable, really, couldn't you, if you're not careful?
Go on holiday.
What about things that are happening at home whilst you are away? For example, if one of your relatives or friends was ill and you had to come home, the insurance isn't for you necessarily there, apart from to get you home. How does that work?
Most insurance policies and insurance companies are fantastic at this. There's normally a 24-hour medical emergency helpline number to call, and they'll invariably sort out the arrangements for you to come home as well. Always check your policy for this to make sure that it's there. I know that ours is, but yeah, they'll make sure that you're okay. Yeah,
and there's always the annual French air traffic controllers strike, which I think has just happened recently.
I know. It always gets to around Easter time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And people start mentioning strikes, and it's like, oh gosh, are we covered on the insurance? If you book and purchase your travel insurance before an announcement is made for an airstrike, whether that be a French, a Spanish, an English, whatever, then you are covered. Most insurance will cover that. However,
what would you cover? Would it be the delay or an extra night's accommodation or something?
Exactly, any costs incurred such as that. But if you've been a last minute person such as myself and you haven't purchased it in time and then there's an airstrike mentioned, then of course you're not going to be covered. So you just need to make sure that you purchase it at the time of travel.
Okay, now quite often, and it's something that possibly happens quite a lot these days, is that you go on holiday with a group and you and your mates get away, or you meet up with your friends who are in two couples go, or whatever. You know, it could be a group of complete enthusiasts who go away for a holiday away somewhere. How does that work?
Well, it's always better to get a joint policy if you're going, because a lot of people might not know this, but if one of you ends up falling ill, you're not covered for that other person if you get two singles. So it's better if you get a joint one, because then you're covered.
Okay, right. Simple enough, basically. And the family kind of thing, is that, you know, does that work in the same way? The family
family insurance policy. If there's an option for you to purchase an insurance as a family, then do so. Don't buy single policies, because they'll totally conflict with each other.
So how come you ended up being involved in insurance then?
I said this to my boss. I said 20 years ago, when I first started travel, if somebody told me that I would be selling insurance, I'd go, no, it's not very sexy. You know, it's one of those unglamorous things. But actually, it's very, very intricate. It's very involved. There's a lot of stories, a lot of anecdotes. It's a good thing to be involved in. I really enjoy it. I love working for my company, because we sell other things besides insurance as well. But it's a good team down there.
Because a lot of people who we speak to on this programme who've been in in the travel trade for a long time.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
stick with the travel trade.
I know. It's balmy, isn't it? I think once we're in, it's like a vortex. Once you're in, you can't get out. But it's such a sociable industry. I mean, I've been in it 24 years and I've absolutely loved every minute of my career. I've worked for a whole host of different companies, and you know, it's the same people are still in the industry. You see them at different events, and it teaches you a lot, you know, and it's a very resilient industry because we've been challenged throughout the years with different worldwide events and things happening. So yeah, it's a good industry to be in.
What does the future hold for, well, I'm not going to say for the travel industry because you'd be staring into your crystal ball a bit there, wouldn't you? But what about insurance? I mean, it goes up every year is the comment that I hear a lot from people. So is that going to happen?
I think it's the same with car insurance. It goes up because of the amount of premiums that are claimed for. You know, you go on holiday, something happens, you need to make that claim, and then it inevitably rises. It's the same with house, it's the same with car. But my company especially, we try to keep premiums down to a minimum, but you know, it's just one of those things that you have to have. Don't go away without it.
If you're ringing up and speaking to Lindsay, are there any tips you can give us for getting a bit off your policy or something?
I would say always a bit of flirtatious charm will get you into most places.
Saw through that one, didn't I? Okay, that's it. Oh, fine. Great. Okay, brilliant. Well, lovely to talk to you, Lindsay.
Thank you
very much indeed for coming and
Thank
setting
you.
the record straight on insurance and telling us a bit about some of the holidays you've had too, which always makes it a bit interesting. Something that you don't need but is very useful when it comes to cruising, and first-time guide to cruise holidays, and also for going on holiday with your family on a cruise ship too. There we are. There are guides. Free of charge for you. All you need to do is call 0871 423 4444. Calls will cost 10p a minute from a BT landline, and calls from other networks and mobiles may vary. You can also request copies through our website at www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk, along with your questions for us as well. Well, that's all we have time for on today's edition for the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. My thanks again to Lindsay Garvey-Jones for coming in to talk to us, some holiday extras. And most of all, thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.